Hi, and welcome to the video on how to optimize your Goodreads membership. In this video, we're going to be talking about best practices for Goodreads. So let's start with an introduction. My name is Barb Drozdowich, and as the picture indicates, I see myself as a teacher. In addition to being a teacher, I'm also a technical trainer. I've been a book blogger since 2010, and my first book was published in 2013. So I have somewhat of a unique view of the publishing world. When I'm wearing my technical trainer hat, I see the publishing world as a series of various technologies that I actually do understand and can break down. When I'm wearing my book blogger hat, I see the publishing world from the point of view of a reviewer. And when I'm wearing my author hat, I see the publishing world from the point of view of an author. I like to think it gives me somewhat of a unique view of the publishing world. So today's topic is Goodreads. So why Goodreads? The easy answer is I really like Goodreads. I am comfortable there. I've spent a lot of time there, and I really enjoy a lot of the functionality that is available to readers as well as authors. At the same time, I recognize that a lot of people either really don't like Goodreads or they find it really difficult to navigate. So I've done a fair amount of work trying to explain Goodreads. So what is Goodreads? It is simply a site on the internet. The direct URL is goodreads.com. It offers up a free account for readers, and once you have published your first book, you get author status, which gives you a variety of different powers that are different from just a plain reader account. It was launched in January of 2007. It was purchased by Amazon in March of 2013. And most recently, it merged with Shelfari in a year ago, January. For those of you that are aware of the various book lover sites on the internet, there are now only two. There is Library Thing and Goodreads. The difference between the two is more of the social aspect. Goodreads is seen as much more of a social place than Library Thing. Library Thing is seen as more literary or more interested in cataloging and listing and sharing information about book collections. So if I look at what Goodreads is, the very first thing that I did is I took a screenshot from the About page of Goodreads. These numbers over on the right are what makes Goodreads really very powerful. It has 55 million members and growing. Those members have added 1.5 billion books to shelves, and there are in the range of 50 million reviews that are left on Goodreads for various books. Those numbers, frankly, are staggering. Although clearly those people probably have social media accounts in other places like Facebook or Twitter, on Goodreads, they're all in one place. So, like anything on the internet, we'll have positives and negatives. So let's start with the positives. Goodreads allows you to have a free account as a reader, and once you've published your first book, you get what's known as an author status. So it allows you to have some special skills or special powers, and it allows you to be associated with your various published works. It allows you to list quite a bit of information about your books. We'll look at not only the author listing, but also the book listings and some of the things that you can add in addition to what is automatically supplied. What all this does is it helps with buying decisions. Whether or not you literally spend a lot of time on Goodreads is somewhat irrelevant. A lot of readers do, and they use it to network, to chat with other readers, and to find out other books that they're interested in reading. So it makes sense to do everything that you can to help readers with buying decisions. I often refer to Goodreads as a reader heaven because everybody around you reads. You speak the same language as everybody else. However, negatives, there certainly are negatives. There are trolls on Goodreads. There are people that woke up on the wrong side of the bed on Goodreads. And there are dishonest people on Goodreads, just like everywhere else in the world, it seems nowadays. Goodreads is a reader heaven. And so when you go on Goodreads, put your reader hat on and leave your author hat at home. Don't engage with the trolls. Don't respond to nasty reviews that are left about your books. Let readers be readers, and trolls will go away if they aren't fed. When we log on to Goodreads, this is what the homepage looks like, or literally this is what my homepage looks like. So you'll notice that there's quite a bit of information just in this one snapshot, and we'll look at it in more detail in a few minutes when we move to the screencast. But down the left-hand side is information about what I'm reading or what the account holder is reading. In the center is what we call the feed or the news feed. So this is information on what my friends are doing on Goodreads, what they're reading, what they're reviewing, the giveaways they're entering, the comments that they've left, etc. The information down the right-hand side I often view as sort of interesting links. You'll see that there's some advertising. In this case, there's a link to the Goodreads blog, and Goodreads is recommending my next read to me. And we'll look at this in more detail in a few minutes when we actually go to the screencasts. The starting point for this presentation for Goodreads is going to be the author profile. This is a list of what we're going to be talking about when we get to the screencast, and just gives you an idea of the type of information that you can add to your Goodreads account. You can have a bio. It can be rather extensive. Goodreads provides Ask the Author questions that you can answer. And obviously it allows you to list your books, but it actually allows you to edit the listings and add more information. It allows you to connect your blogs so that people from Goodreads can read your blog posts. They wouldn't necessarily find your blog posts in other ways. And in actual fact, some people will receive emails every time you post a new blog. You have the ability to connect videos from other sources. You can form friendships and get followers. Widgets is something that we'll spend a little bit of time on. You can move parts of your Goodreads profile and functionality to your blog or your website and display it for people to see. You can also connect your Facebook account, and as I'm sure you're aware, some people seem to sort of live their life solely on Facebook. So it is possible for them to view your Goodreads presence through your Facebook author page, and we'll talk about that in just a second. So now let's move to the screencast. Now you're looking at the live version of Goodreads. This is my Goodreads account, and we're going to use my account as the example that we're looking at in this screencast. So we saw a screenshot of this earlier. We're now going to scroll through it. So like I said, on the left-hand side is information about you as a reader, or as a result of you being a reader. So at the top, you'll see the books that I'm currently reading, the reading challenge that I'm undertaking, and what's available on my want to read shelf. In the center is what's called updates. It's also known as the news feed or the feed. This is information on what my Goodreads friends are up to. And I can scroll quite extensively, and this information is kind of constantly being updated. I have 3,000 odd friends on Goodreads, so quite a bit of information comes through here. Each entry is one little piece of information, and it is classified. So this is somebody who's entered a book giveaway, somebody who's made progress in reading this book, somebody else has reviewed some poems, etc. Each entry is quite attractive if you look at it, I think. I mean, it's got a book cover, it's got a little snippet about the book, and some buttons that you can click on. In this case, you can click on View Giveaway if you also are interested in entering the giveaway. Or in this case, you can click and add this book to Want to Read shelf. So over on the right hand side are a number of links that are sort of useful links. We're not going to spend a lot of time on those. We're going to first move on to your author profile and changing or augmenting your author profile. So to get there, I want you to go up to the right, hover over your little picture, click on it, and then choose Author Dashboard. What this is going to do is get you to the non-public view of your author dashboard. So it's just going to show you a whole collection of information. Starting at the top, some stats about your books and the reviews that you've left. Then it lists your books, and again, little snippets of information about each book. There's a section called Ask the Author, which is questions that Goodreads supplies that you can answer. Readers also have the ability to enter their own question that you can answer. And it's a great way of breaking the ice with readers and answering some of their questions. Nobody's asked me any questions. I think my heart's broken on that. Further down, your blog. As we'll talk about again, you can attach the feed from your blog to Goodreads so that people can read your blog on Goodreads. And you'll see here I have 212 followers to my blog on Goodreads. So those aren't counting the ones that are actually following my blog via my blog. So it's extra traffic, essentially. Moving further down is advertising and giveaways. We'll talk about giveaways in a second. I want to get down to the bottom here. There's a section here called Facebook Page tab. You have the ability to connect your Facebook and your Goodreads account and allow people that only follow you on Facebook to see information from Goodreads. So if you were to click on this tab or the link and attach your Facebook page, we'll go over to my Facebook page, and this is my author page. You'll notice that I've clicked on Goodreads, and you can see all of the information that comes across from Goodreads. So for those folks that don't really want to go anywhere other than Facebook, they can view your Goodreads information as part of your Facebook tab. It's kind of handy. Moving back to Goodreads, I'm going to scroll back up to the top, and over the right-hand side, again, some more information. What we're really interested in to start with is editing this information. So how do we get at it and how do we change it? So this link here says Edit My Author Profile. If you click on that, it'll bring you to this page. This page might be familiar. You might have filled this out in the past. But to add my 2 cents to this information, you want to focus on accessibility and inclusivity, I guess maybe is the other word that I want to use. You want to make readers want to read your books. You want to give them all of the tools that they need to buy your books, to make an informed buying process or decision. So you want to come off as being friendly, even if you're sort of a grumpy old person. So the information that comes across, you probably have filled in the past, but go back and look over it and see if you just entered your stodgy old author bio or whether you can spruce it up and make it a little bit more friendly, make it a little bit less formal, let's say. You also have the ability to enter your author URL, your blog URL, and indicate which genres that you write in. Looking up on the right, you'll see that I've included my official author photo, but below that, I have the ability to enter more photos. I actually really don't like having my picture taken, But lots of people do, and lots of people have pictures of them at conferences with readers, doing readings at bookstores or at book sales. Don't hesitate to include more than one photo in this area. Again, especially if they have you looking friendly and approachable, because readers are attracted to that. Below that, there's a section called videos. I have a fair number of YouTube videos. I put together sort of tech hint videos. And as long as a video is hosted on YouTube or Vimeo, it can be attached to on your part of your Goodreads profile. So people can actually watch the videos from within the Goodreads environment and not have to wander over to Goodreads and try and find your video by searching. Again, it gives readers something else to look at, something else to sort of promote yourself using. Below that are 3 sections that we aren't really going to cover. Events we'll cover in a few minutes when we talk about them. You can attach your blog's RSS. We've already talked about that and the fact that you can get extra visitors. And author widgets we're going to talk about in a few minutes. So once you've entered all of your information, the next step is for you to actually look at what it's going to look like live. So I'm going to go to my author profile, and once it whirs a little bit, it's going to bring up the public view of my author profile. So you'll see here it says Goodreads author, and you want to go through this information and proof it and make sure it's formatted properly, make sure that it's attractive, it's friendly, it's helping your readers make a buying decision. And, sort of look for odd things. Make sure nothing got misspelled, nothing's out of place. A lot of this information is automatically put in place by Goodreads, but as you saw with your bio, you have a certain amount of input. So just scroll through and make sure that you have all the information that you want. A subject that will come up frequently in the next little bit is friends. On Goodreads, you have the ability to agree to be people's friends. So it is something you do have to agree to. People can also follow authors, and that's something that is outside of your control. You don't have to agree or disagree. The person who wishes to follow you can do that. There is value in both, and we can go on to this subject ad nauseum actually, but there is a lot of value in advertising your information passively to your friends. So everybody that is your friend will be aware of your activity on Goodreads at no cost whatsoever. There's various strategic ways that you can use this information. You can simply just be a reader and revel in the joy of books. But you can also get together with groups of authors and work strategically to help each other sort of share information about their books. And we'll talk more about that in a bit. Forming friends should be making friends with readers, not staying in your comfort zone and only having friends with authors. Authors will commiserate, they will understand where you're coming from, but they won't be your target audience necessarily. There is a cap on friends at 5,000. I know several people that have gone beyond that limit, but Goodreads documentation still states that the cap should be 5,000. So you want to make every person count. It seems like a lot at the beginning, but focus on finding friends that are readers. So the next thing that we're going to look at is what our books look like on Goodreads. So in this section, you'll see a list of my books. And the other thing that you'll notice is there's really hardly any information there whatsoever. There's a title and an author and a few bits and pieces of information, but the blurb isn't visible. Quite a few things aren't visible. When we click on the link, we get more information. So I'm deliberately clicking on this link because of some of the features on this particular page. This is my first book that I published, and it has gone through 3 different iterations. So it gives us lots to look at. Starting at the top is the title and who contributed to it, some information about ratings and reviews, the blurb, and then over to the left-hand side is the cover. So we can actually see a larger cover if you want, but this should be the most current title that is available on the book that is for sale right now. And we'll talk about past covers in a second. Down below that, there are 2 icons, the preview and listen. On Amazon, as part of the book record, people have the ability to advance read what you have written. They can do a look inside. They can download a sample to their Kindle. There's a bunch of different things they can do. We want to offer that same information on Goodreads, but we have to do it. So you need to upload a preview of your book if you want to make that available to your readers, and I strongly suggest that you do. This book is available as an audiobook, and so every book that is available as an audiobook and also on Amazon is going to have the ability for people to listen to the little preview part of the audiobook that they also have available to listen to via Amazon. Those things are quite important to make available. Looking further down, you'll see the old covers for this book, and as I hover over them, you can see the various different pieces of information. We can edit the information about the book by clicking on Edit Details. Once this screen comes up, you'll see that there is a fair amount of information about the book that can be added. The vast majority of this information will be brought over from Amazon, but some of it can be changed. Some of it will be blocked from changing, but you can change some of the information. If you look down here under description, it has brought over the blurb that is available on Amazon. But I've gone in and added a little snippet from a review. Certainly permissible to do that. And it adds a little something at the beginning of the blurb, as we'll look at when we go back to what it looks like. If you change anything, make sure that you click on Save Changes. And I'm just going to go back to look at what the actual blurb looks like, and you'll see that this is where I've added this little snippet from a review. Makes it a little bit more attractive to readers, and it is not unlike something that you would do on Amazon as well. Looking further down, you can see the section that is about reviews and ratings. If reviews and ratings are something that you don't want to read about your book, then don't read. But for heaven's sakes, don't engage with trolls. This is the area where most people seem to sort of get into trouble. They think that they can correct reviewers. Don't do it. I just strongly suggest that you don't do it. People are going to review your book whether you get them a copy or not, and they're going to share their thoughts. Sometimes, yes, people are unkind, but let them have their thought. Unless they are clearly against Goodreads terms and conditions, don't attempt to remove them, because you just end up with a whole bunch of other people trying to defend their friends. It's not really worth it, in my opinion. So anyways, the reviews are, you can scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. They are arranged so that my friends or my Goodreads friends' reviews are shown first, followed by what are called community reviews. So those are people that I'm not friends with on Goodreads. And as I said, if you're not interested in reading it, then don't read them. The one last thing I'll point out at this point is if I go to the record of a previous edition of my book and then click on Edit Details, and go down to the side. You can see this line that says, set this book as the primary edition for this work. So one of the common questions that comes up in the various Facebook pages often is, how do I change the cover on my book? You don't want to actually change the cover on your book. What you want to do is set an edition as a primary. When somebody comes to Goodreads to leave a review, you want to make sure that they can see the version that they have just finished reading and leave a review. At the same time, you want them to be able to see previous versions, perhaps. Maybe they have gotten a book at a used bookstore and it has the old cover on it. So you want some recognition available. To help educate readers, Goodreads will also tell them readers also enjoyed. So this list of books, and you can actually scroll through it a little bit, is the books that people have read that have also read this book. So it's like the also bots on Amazon, but it's based on the activity on Goodreads. So that's enough for this particular section. We're going to talk about some of the functionality. So I'm going to go back to home. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is this reading challenge. A reading challenge, I think, is one of the overlooked functionalities on Goodreads. I have actually read more than 4 books. I just haven't gotten around to recording them on Goodreads. I've been a bit busy. However, I have announced to the Goodreads world that I want to read 95 books. The number is somewhat irrelevant. I can read as many books as I want. If I click on View Challenge, it will bring me to a page that allows me to see the covers of the books that I'm reading, as well as what my friends are reading, my Goodreads friends are reading. And being the nosy person that I am, I like finding out what my friends are reading. And maybe I want to read it also. You'll notice if I hover over one of the covers, I get a little pop-up that gives me more information about this particular book. It's listed as read because clearly I've read it. But if we do the same thing on somebody else, so let's find somebody who's read a fair number of books already. See what I can find out that I'm interested in reading. Here, Susan has read 61 books, so let's look at what she has read. And it'll view 10, or it'll show 10 at a time. I can click on view more and read more. So I can look through these covers, hover over them, and say, that sounds pretty interesting. Maybe I want to read that. And I can click on this button and it adds that book to one of my shelves. I can also click on Open Preview and read, as soon as this finishes churning a bit, I can read the preview that has been offered by this publisher or this author to get a feel for the book and whether or not I want to read it. Now keep in mind that that preview is provided by either the publisher or you. This is not something that comes across from Amazon, so you need to make sure that that's in place. So why a reading challenge? Let's look at the numbers up here. Currently, there are 2,050,399 participants in the 2017 Reading Challenge. They have finished reading 16,519,991 books. That is a ton of books. And all of this is free advertising. Everybody is interested in what other people are reading. And this is a really easy way to get your book advertised. You can get together with other authors and strategically read each other's books so that if I go back a page, right, and when I go to look at who my friends are or what books my friends are reading, I can see all these interesting books that you're sharing with me. This doesn't go against Amazon's reviews of fellow authors' books because you're not actually reviewing them on Amazon. You're just listing them as part of a reading challenge. And it's a great way to have people involved in your reading. In actual fact, you can leave comments on the various challenges. And I've done challenges for several years. And I remember at one point, I think it was around November last year, I had somebody that kept commenting on the raciness of all of the novels that I was reading and then kept adding them to their shelf. So I could watch the progression every time I added a book. One of my fellow book bloggers commented on that looks really good and added it to their shelf, and that looks good and added it to their shelf. So there can be quite a bit of interaction involved. Let's move on to giveaways. Actually, let's move on to shelves first. You have the ability on Goodreads to list all of the books that you read on shelves. And you may say, well, I don't really have time for that. I'm busy writing. And I understand. However, this is a way of advertising books to the world. Again, we are innately nosy. And before we friend people, often we look at the books that they read to find out if there's somebody that we're actually interested in. So we can display books for the purpose of displaying books. You'll notice I have a shelf here that's labeled Great Books for Authors. And this is what some of my books are here, but there's lots of other great books that I have listed for other people to see, to other people think about perhaps buying. This is more of a strategic action. You remember this to read functionality or shelf. If we go back to the home screen, this is this area down here. So every time I log in, I'm reminded, oh yeah, that's right. I was wanting to read those books. Maybe I ignore it for the rest of my life, but it is there. And it is a constant reminder of books that I was interested in reading. So why is that important? We're going to look at giveaways. So if I go up to Browse and Giveaways, giveaways, again, are a function that are constantly, people complain about. Well, they give away a book and it's not reviewed and it costs money. Well, it does. This is only for paper copies and you have to literally mail it. You don't have to mail it to the whole world, though. You can choose what countries you want to enter, and you can limit the number of copies. The number of people that enter these giveaways in a lot of cases is huge. So if I go to most requested, and the one at the top of the list here has 69 days to go in the giveaway, and there's already over 9,000 people that have entered this giveaway, and they're only giving away one copy of the book. That's huge. That's 9,500 roughly eyes on the book. It's great advertising. So you pay for one book and one postage for 9,500 set of eyes. I think it's a deal. When you send the book out, you want to make sure, however, that you write a thank you note. And when I say write a thank you note, I don't mean getting some fancy paper and a fancy pen and writing the person a lovely thank you note in handwriting. I mean open the cover of the book and write in the book your lovely thank you note, so that if the person is dishonest or decides not to review the book, sells it, gives it to a friend, that note goes with the book. So the next person that gets hold of that book will realize, oh, that's right, I can do a review for this book if I like it when I'm done. So, and every time somebody enters a giveaway, by default, they enter, or that book is put on their to read shelf. To show you, if I just click on enter giveaway, I'm not going to go ahead with this, but I'm just going to show you the example. To enter the giveaway, it is automatically checked here. Also add this book to my to read shelf. In order to enter the giveaway, I have to check here, and then I can click on the button. But to not add the book, I have to uncheck this box. People are innately lazy. The vast majority of people that enter a giveaway just allow the book to be added to their to read shelf. In order to get rid of that book, let's find one that I want to get rid of. Here, it's got to be one that's fairly recent. There we go, the one that I just added here. In order to get this book off my shelf, I have to go to my books, find the book, and then click on the X and say, okay, I want to remove it. And again, most people are fairly lazy and they won't go to that trouble. As a result, if I go back to the home page, every time they log in, they're reminded of that book that they want to read. So it's, again, free advertising. Let's go on to events. Events are something that can be overused. There's a lot of people that seem to send event notices out every time they post a blog post, it seems, and they can get annoying. However, if they're used strategically, they can be great. Two things. You can create an event, and then all of your friends can also invite their friends. Or you can identify people on the basis of where they live. So if, for example, if you're having a book signing, you can go through your friend list and only invite people that could feasibly come to the book signing. To show you what they look like, we're just going to click on this one and look at this particular event that has been set up. A little bit of information, and it's a public event. So I can click on event, invite people, and click on friends, and the list of my friends will show up. And remember, I've got 3,300 odd friends on Goodreads. So in addition to the friends already invited, I can invite my friends as well. It can become quite powerful if used properly and if used strategically. Okay, we're going to move on to groups. Not spend a lot of time with groups. If you're interested in networking with readers from other countries, other interests, people that you would never run into in real life, groups are a great way to do that. I would suggest, however, that you don't put your readers or your writer's hat on. Coming in here, that you have your reader's hat on and be a reader. There are literally thousands of groups. The first one I'll point out is the Goodreads Librarian Group. The librarians are the volunteers that help you do various things with your profile or with your books on Goodreads. This is a great group. It has lots of information in it. The author FAQ is priceless. How do I get my new book added to Goodreads? How do I delete my out-of-print book? And etc. A lot of answers right here. So if you're looking for help, this is the first place to look. Look through their helpful information. If you can't find something, then post a request and somebody will help you. Book clubs. You'll notice that there are 8,930 book clubs that have a presence on Goodreads. Great source. Absolutely outstanding source. The one other thing that I'll point out is groups categorize themselves, and one of the categories they can use is geography. So if you're interested in finding readers in other countries, as an example, a lot of these groups are have readers and writers from other countries that are interacting. Some, yes, are not written in English. You'll notice that a lot of the groups that are present on Goodreads are not actually written in English. But they're a great place to find readers. every group has a list of members. Now, you're not able to see the members until you're actually a member of the group, but once you're a member, you can click on, or once you have joined the group, you can click on members and you can find all kinds of information out and form friendships with people that look like they have common interests. And again, don't do the buy my book, buy my book, buy my book thing, but you can make friends. Readers can figure out that you're an interesting person and that you have something to share and go look for your books. The last thing that we're going to talk about is widgets. I love widgets. They're a great way to advertise your books and your friends' books. There are two types of widgets. The first type we're going to look at is author widgets. So going back to the author dashboard and then clicking on widgets, we have a large variety of widgets. All you need to do is copy the code and then put it on the sidebar of your blog. And I've put together actually this one on a sample blog. So I'll click over here and you can see what it looks like right here. It gives people the opportunity to see your selection of books and see what other people think about it. If they click on the link, then they go back to Goodreads and can find out more information like that. So if I go back to Goodreads, there is another type of widget that I really like, but they are reader widgets. So if I click on my little picture and go down to account settings and then edit my user profile, you'll see widgets right here. These widgets are reader widgets, so they are based for the most part on either your activity or on a particular shelf. The one that I really like is this one here, which is just a simple display of books. The books can be either small sized or medium sized. And you'll see if I scroll down just a little bit, having a display like that on the sidebar of your blog is attractive. It adds a little bit of color to your site. And at the same time, it allows you to advertise the books of your friends, perhaps, and allows people that visit your blog to read other books that you also like or that you recommend. A prime example of that I have on several of my sites is I have a shelf called Great Books for Authors, as I mentioned, and this is what the display looks like on one of my sites. So without putting much work at all in, I'm advertising books that I've read, books that I like, books that I recommend to people, other people that are visiting my site. Let's take a few minutes and talk about some of the key functions that we learned about on Goodreads. At the very least, make sure that your author profile and each book profile is as attractive and is robust as possible, or as you can make it. Make sure that things are attractive, that readers have the opportunity and all of the various parts and pieces that they need to make the buying decision that you want them to make. Even if you don't participate in any other function of Goodreads, make sure that they have everything, or that the readers have everything that they need to buy one of your books or to help them buy one of their books. Then if you're interested in doing a little bit extra, consider a reading challenge, and importantly, consider a strategic reading challenge. Get together with fellow authors and read each other's books. Not that you're going to break Amazon's rules about review exchanges or anything like that. It's free advertising for your fellow authors. Giveaways. You don't have to spend a lot of money to get quite a bit of cheap advertising on Goodreads, and giveaways are one way that you can do that. For the price of a book and the price of postage, and you don't need to give away a whole bunch of books, you can get some advertising on Goodreads and some goodwill with your readers. Groups, if that's something that you're interested in doing, joining some groups, make sure that you put your reader hat on before you join the group, and don't go in guns blazing to get reviews. Be a reader, be participatory, and it will be recognized. Events. Make sure that you make use of the events again in a strategic fashion. If you're part of a group promo, have everybody participate, everybody invite their friends. And again, you'll notice that friends are the best thing that you can have on Goodreads, because those are all of the various people that you are sharing your information with. Finally, widgets. I like widgets, and I use them on quite a few of my sites for various reasons, to display my books, to display my friends' books, and honestly on my book blog to display the books that I'm reading or have read. If widgets are something that make you uncomfortable, or putting code in place on your blog is something that makes you feel uncomfortable, I have lots of videos that help with the various technology issues. The blog where I post most of my technology hints is Baker View Consulting, and this is the URL. I post regularly about various difficult points that people tell me about, and I try and solve the situation. In addition, there is a full course that I've created on Goodreads, and there isn't any cost associated with it at all. I really like Goodreads, and I'd really like everybody, hopefully, to enjoy Goodreads as much as I do. So if you're interested in the full course, you just need to go to this URL and then look at the detail page for my book on Goodreads, and at the bottom of the page there's a link. I hope you enjoyed something, and I hope you enjoyed the last half hour or so, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the festival. Thanks for listening.